right, today we have Jesse DeGroot, co-founder and guitarist for Beneath the Hollow. How's it going, man?
Dane, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
So I guess first intro kind of find out is for someone just hearing your band for the first time, how would you explain it to them?
I think we just call it heavy metal. We are guys that, four dudes that have wildly different backgrounds and taste in music. But when it all comes together and it levels out, I think it's just heavy metal. I mean, it sometimes leans into that gent territory due to I was raised on a healthy diet of Meshuggah and stuff like that. So it leans, but we also have short attention spans, and we like so much that we kind of stuff everything in there. So just your good old traditional heavy metal band. And some bands are so heavy now that it's like, you get your Lorna Shores and your stuff like that go into the mainstream stuff that was like uber underground when we were coming up and when we were young. So long answer, long, just heavy metal.
I like on your clips how you'll list a lot of bands that, it's like if you like these bands, you'll like us. And from listening to your music, it's like I can hear just a little hint of each of them, and I'll be like, oh, that's why they named that band.
It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and it's almost the internet now is like the equivalent of when we used to go pass out demo tapes and flyers and stuff like that. So that's one of the things we try to do, and it's incredibly difficult because you know what music you love and what may have inspired you, and that's not necessarily what somebody hears when they hear your music either. So sometimes I'm just throwing darts at the board. So I'm glad some of them are making sense though on the other end.
What all do you do with the band? I mean, I know you're the guitarist, but I'm sure you do a lot more.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this day and age too, you got to wear all the hats, right? So we're pretty self sufficient. Our singer Justin is a pretty accomplished recording engineer. I've recorded and done production from demoing all the way to masters for us for the early couple releases, and even in Heads and Hooves, the newest release, and the record prior, which we were fortunate enough to work with a producer named Machine, who, I mean, Lamb of God, Every Time I Die, Clutch, credible producer. But we split the recording duties on that. He did vocals and drums. I did all the guitars and bass. So you got that. I'm generally the business side of things, the ones that, making sure we get paid, making sure the guys get paid, ordering the merch, all that kind of stuff. I deal a lot with the record label that we work with, Razor to Wrist Records. I'm generally the guy that's doing all the release planning and promotional stuff, promo planning behind it too. Great group of guys to work with. They're very easy. We just deliver them our stuff, our art, and say, hey guys, we're done. You ready?
I heard you say your album you recorded with Machine, and is
Yes, we
he
did an album.
is he out of Texas?
He is. He is. We went down to he was right outside of Austin. Um, Dripping Springs, I think technically is where the studio is. It's like 45 minutes from anywhere. Middle of nowhere barn studio in Austin. It was an awesome experience. The great dude, just wealth of knowledge to be around. Um, and for somebody who has like Grammy nods and stuff like that, incredibly down to earth person.
So you got shows coming up. How's that all that? You guys all just meet up in Chicago and go from there?
So it depends. We try to use the logistics to our advantage because the upside of being all over the place is you've kind of got a home base everywhere. We can rehearse here in Columbus. We can rehearse in Chicago. And if we do something down in Texas, we can rehearse down there. So live, we play to a click track in ears. We got a whole rig set up. So as long as you're rehearsed coming into the one live rehearsal, we do one band practice and then we're off doing shows.
And you're
So it's a
kicking
lot
off
of
the
do your homework stuff.
right. You stay up to that. How often do you say you practice a week?
I play guitar every day. That's it's a minimum hour, if not more, a day just to working on keeping your chops up. And I can't my Matt and I's dad also, he's a guitar player, so we grew up around bands. So I got the very basic, like, here's your basic chords, dude, and here's your pentatonic scale, and off to the races. So I did that for about 18 years, and then when COVID hit, things were just starting to get traction going with the band, like actual traction. We were doing bigger shows. The label had started looking at us, and I was like, if I'm gonna, like, I better earn this. So I went back and I got myself a teacher, and I started learning theory and fixing all the problems that I had with my playing. And it reignited my love of the instrument. And it's been a huge part of what I do all the time now. So I'm constantly studying. I did 5 years studying with a guy named Wes Hauk, who plays in a band called Alluvial. He's also like the dude filling in for Black Dahlia Murder right now, and he was in a band called The Faceless, and he's just a insane player, nicest dude on earth, and I owe mountains of gratitude to that guy for what he helped me do with my playing. And I just started studying with a gentleman named Emil Wursler, who was in a band called Doth, and he is just a phenomenal gypsy jazz guy. And he's taken me to all these wild places of stuff that was like recorded in 1930. And it's a lot of eating your vegetables that I didn't do, as a young guy. I went straight to, like, oh, I'm gonna learn that Pantera lick and just go for it, and started writing real early. So I have this really weird wildness that had to get tamed um, from a playing standpoint.
So you kind of doing it backwards, but
Absolutely did it backwards. I wish that I would have, because it was that kind of thing that it scares you when you're young. You're like, oh, music theory. If you learn everything, you're going to sound like everybody else and everything. It really, all it is it's like learning a language. It gives you a name for the sounds that you hear, and instead of just meandering around all day looking for something, you can go to it. You kind of, if you want it to sound this way or that way, you start to know where it is.
I'm not a musician at all. So I just really like music, and I like talking to the musicians that I like their music and listen how they make their music.
Totally, totally.
So, and it makes me appreciate it more too.
It's an art, and it's a lifetime commitment, man. It's if you love it. I've tried to stop doing this more than once. Like, it's gotten put on the shelf, and something that just always calls me back to it. So it's something I would do, whether it was something that I was, like, seriously promoting, or, like, I would be down here writing songs anyways, even if nobody ever heard them. And there's hundreds that nobody probably will ever hear. They're not all good.
Well, everyone can't be good. You can't have good songs if you don't have bad songs.
Right. Well, and a lot of it's like working out a muscle, right? You got to, you're going to have some bad days at the gym if you're training. So it's one of those things. It's the more you exercise it, the more good stuff comes.
So the songs that you have out now on albums and stuff, do you write all the guitar for it?
So yeah, the general process? It's kind of, you get three options. One, we'll be in a rehearsal room and we'll stumble on something, and it'll kind of spark the idea, and then I'll take it back to my little workshop studio down here, which is pretty modest, but it gets the job done. I can do guitars here. If I had to, I could do drums. I could pull in all the rest of my treatment and stuff, and it'd be tough to stuff a drum kit in this room, but we've done it before. So either we stumble something on something together, I'll come up with something and then give the guys a demo. Justin is a great writer too, and then it usually starts, and then everyone starts picking at it, and we'll try this and we'll try that, and it's been gone through to death by the time it becomes a song. And then the last two albums we've had an external producer involved, so then once it gets through the filter of the four of us, it then goes to you got an extra guy from the outside that has gobs and gobs of experience. So it's almost like a like carving something out of clay or wood. You'll get your raw idea, and then you start whittling down the details, and everybody's engaged in it. Musically, I'd 99% of the instrumental stuff kicks off from guitar ideas and program drums and stuff, and I'll get the guys a demo, and then we start really drilling it down together.
Does it sometimes feel like you work on that too much and get the song and you're like, we've been working on this song forever. It needs to be done.
Yes, and there is times where the guys will definitely grab me and go, "Stop putting riffs in this song, would you? It's done. Quit it." And then sometimes the more you labor on it, the better it gets. So you keep working on it, and eventually you just you let them go. I don't think they're ever actually done because you could nitpick every little thing forever if you wanted to. And in recording this day and age, I mean, we're not recording to analog tape. Nobody has the budget to do that these days, unless you're big time. So you could go wild with perfection if you wanted to, and we try to steer away from that. We want it to sound super tight and modern and everything, but I all due respect to the bands that are like uber gridded and machine gun crazy. I don't think that's our cup of tea. It's got to have some ugly on it for us.
Do you save every version? Like if you're like, no, let's go back 2 or 3 versions and because I like that.
Yep. Generally, what I do is I have a writing session wherever I left off from the last one. I'll have a session. I use Cubase. Our singer uses Justin. He's a Pro Tools guy. Um, so he and I are both pretty efficient in those um, programs. So what I'll do is I'll have one session that has all of the songs in it, and if we're going to chop it up, I'll just copy and paste the whole song, and we'll bastardize it. And then you always have that previous to go back to, so it gives you a little comfort in going. There's no harm in trying anything. We'll take every suggestion that comes from everybody, whether it's changing tempos up and down, whether it's extending or shortening parts, whether it's rearranging, or even adding and subtracting pieces. So it's we'll definitely exhaust every option until we feel like it's right.
And then with lyrics, how do all your songs start with melody, or do you ever come in with a song with lyrics and then put music to it?
So that has actually been done. Now, when it comes to nine times out of 10, most of the time the music exists, and then Justin is writing his lyrics and melodies to it, which he's superb at. Um, and then there's times where there was Justin's previous band was also signed to the same label. That's how we got tied up with each other, because we had a different singer with us on Misery Loves You, the album we did with Machine, and then late 23 we had to make a change. Uh, just because, I mean, this stuff is taxing as it is. It's not fun to go. It is and it isn't. It can be real miserable to be in a van for days on end with people who are making things more difficult than they need to be, just from a behavior standpoint. None of us are wild animals. I mean, we're all in our 30s, and we all have families and stuff. So I mean, this is the equivalent of the golf outing for some folks. That it's just us in a van going out and playing the rock and roll stuff. So it can get pretty taxing if somebody's being it's not Motley Crue. You know what I mean?
Right.
So his band was on the same label. They were kind of teetering down and wrapping up what they were doing right about the time that we needed somebody. And the label Raise the Wrist has been always super supportive of us. When I called the owners and it was like, hey guys, I got a problem. Um, and it's a singer change is not always the easiest thing to deal with. That's usually what your most listeners are going to connect with a voice first because everybody's got one. Not everybody plays guitar. Not everybody plays drums or bass or is into um, music for the instrumentals. It's the song as a whole. So they were super great, and they were like, "Hey, you should call Justin and see what if he might want to do the thing." And that it was that easy. So I sent him one of the songs that the song Butter, that when it was just an instrumental demo. I sent him that, and he sent me basically what the song turned out to be in about 12 hours. So he's great to work with, and um, it's allowed us to be drastically more efficient. And not that it's all about efficiencies. I mean, art, there's got to be some struggle in it. We all bump we bump heads, all of us collectively. It's like a Venn diagram, right? It's like four circles, and they overlap right here. Um, but we always get there, and it always comes out cooler than it would have without.
I I think I seen somewhere that a lot of your songs are based off of like horror movies.
This is how I think I describe it. Like when I'm writing something that's instrumental, because I'm not going to at this point. I have done it. I have written lyrics for stuff with our previous singers and stuff like that. It's not my favorite thing to do, because by the time I give you an instrumental, I have made something that I want you to be able to listen to it and go, "Ooh, I felt that." Right, like it'll communicate an emotion and a feeling before lyrics and words and vocal melodies are on it. Because if I can do that, I know that Justin's going to be successful with it when he does his piece. So that's my goal. And horror definitely inspires me. I've been a horror nut for as far back as I can remember. Probably being exposed to X Files, and I remember watching X Files with my grandmother like way early, and then sneaking off to watch Pet Cemetery and all the stuff I probably shouldn't have watched at an early age, but it had an impact for sure. Now lyrically, I wouldn't want to speak for Justin, but I do know that a lot of his stuff is real life experience. It may be cloaked in metaphor and everything else, but there's not a lot of at least on Heads and Hooves, there's not a lot of like themed or storytelling or imaginative type stuff. It's more dust on your boots stuff that we've all gone through and felt.
So then on top of playing and touring, are you kind of always working on new material?
Always, there's always stuff going down. In the idea box. We're kind of in that phase right now where Heads and Hooves has been out for about a year, so there's ideas that are starting to blossom into things. I mean, we'll probably start getting serious about writing over the next 6 to 8 months and getting like doing the real work. Um, but it's very early phases right now. But yeah, you're always anytime an idea pops in, I'll try to get down here and get it tracked so I don't lose it because they will run away on you.
Do you guys try to plan to put something out every so often, or just when you come up with a collection of songs, you're like, all right, let's put these out?
We try to hit that every 2 year mark. It's almost mandatory these days. Like I would have liked to take a little more time and do a full length, but I think we'll probably end up doing another EP just for time's sake. Because it unfortunately, like you have to keep feeding the algorithm machine, or everybody forgets. You got your core folks that are going to stick in there and wait for you no matter what. Um, but if you want to keep momentum going, you kind of got to stay on that 2 year cycle.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people, and they're almost to the point where they're just like putting out singles,
And that's what
regularly.
Yep, and then that's what we did with the EP. We released every song as a single to the last one, and then it came out as the EP, and it worked. It got into a lot of ears, and there's new faces at every time we go play somewhere, and we're pretty focused in the Midwestern region, mid and south. We'll hit. We've been through Michigan a lot, Indiana, Illinois, and spreading our wings back out into that general area. We'll focus on the everything east of the Mississippi as we're going into 26 and 27. It's so expensive and tough to get past that. So until somebody big time calls us and is like, hey, we want you to come with us to the West Coast, we'll be stuck on this side.
Yeah, that's all right though. I seen you're coming through Indy next month.
Yeah, so we've never played this venue before, but we'll be in Indianapolis with Rivers and Nile, who we absolutely love. We're really thrilled to have been invited to open that show. So we're very very excited about that one. And then that's a Friday night, and then Saturday we'll be playing in just outside of Chicago in Illinois again too, at a venue called the Forge, which is a fantastic one of the venues that actually probably led to us getting signed with Razor to Wrist, because we opened for one of the Razor to Wrist bands, Polka Dot Cadaver, there in 2013, 14. And it was one of those things where the relationship started and it just gradually got closer and closer and closer until we got fully adopted.
That's crazy. What's your relationship with your label? Like, I know there's different like tiers or how much they do and how much you have to do.
So Razor to Wrist is a label that is owned and operated by the members of Dog Fashion Disco and Polka Dot Cadaver. They're all kind of Todd Smith, the singer, and Jason Stepp, the guitar player. They're kind of in like 9 different bands that because their stylistic reach is so vast that they kind of just compartmentalize it into these different projects, and it's very do it yourself. I mean, and it's also very warm and open and welcoming. It is not you're going to do this, you're going to do that. It's when your art's ready, guys, let us know. And what help do you need? And they've always been super courteous to us, taking us out for runs and everything else. So it's been a wonderful platform to build this thing off of. And I'm awfully excited right now, at least for kicking off 26. We get to go out and bring some people back to that little family.
So your current singer, Justin, and you had one singer before that?
Two. Well, and I mean, it depends on how far you want to go back, right? Um, I think this became like a real thing around 2018. So we had a singer on Nihilist named Aaron, who is like a brother to me. We're still very, very close. And it was just one of those things that he wasn't in a place in life where he could go do the long time away from home and everything else. So then Jewel came in and we did Indoctrination and Misery Loves You with him. And then, unfortunately, you know, most unfortunately, shortly, within the 8 to 12 months after we parted ways, he unfortunately passed away. And then Justin came in late 23, early 24. And we spent most of 24 getting our ducks in a row from a recording standpoint. I think we did 2 shows before Heads and Hooves started releasing. And then 25, we did a lot. We did a bunch of runs through Michigan. My old man brain's kicking in. I can't remember where else we went. But the process of recording is tedious and long too. And then you got to sit and wait for mixes to come back and masters to come back. And then you've got to get everything to go to production, and you got to get your merch ordered, and you got to roll out the release strategy. And I mean, the album's generally done 6 to 12 months before it starts getting released.
Have you thought that your tone and your style has changed over the years? I mean, obviously, you said that you went back and got some more formal schooling and stuff like that. But I mean, just based on, say, like the change of singers, like, do you kind of play to their singing style?
I would say 100%, and you can hear it each release. And I simultaneously growing as a musician and a guitar player, I was also growing in my skill set as in my ability to record, mix, and master stuff. So Nihilist was the first one. That's it was okay. Indoctrination was a pretty significant leap up, and that was before I started doing any serious studying. And I think you could hear a big jump between Indoctrination and Misery, and I feel like we refined it a lot with Heads and Hooves. And having Justin, a handful of those songs instrumentally were mostly written before I maybe two or three of them were the core of the song was there before we knew who our singer was going to be. And then once Justin was, we knew he was the guy. Um, it kind of took the handcuffs off because he could do the heavy and he can do the sing like an angel stuff. So um, a lot of what I felt was missing from Misery was the heavier side of things. So it was nice to be able to, really lean into that again too and have both spectrums.
So earlier, I heard you say that you've wanted to hang it up multiple times.
Well, there's been just times that have, Matt and I playing together since we were kids. I mean, we've gone through guys like, guys being around for a long time and then they're done and they quit and you try to find new guys, which is a pain in the butt. It's like being married to three or four other people, right? On top of your personal life and your job and everything else. So, and it's not for everybody. Um, Being willing to go out in 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, 14 days and go do this for like maybe making a couple of bucks out of it. It's for the love of the game, right? It's because you want to go out there and connect with other people over, the art. Um, so it does get taxing. And there's been times that, I just couldn't find any other dudes that wanted to commit to it. So there's been times that there was 3 or 4 year stretches where we were completely inactive, but it always creeps back in.
What do you do in your downtime then?
Basically, with having a band as active as this, there is no free time. Um, I've got kids. I've got a full time job. I'm married. So you're running the whole full normal dad life and doing this is the free time. Um, but you also make time if you really want something. If you love it enough and it's something you have to do. Like when I went back to the drawing board and was like, I'm going to fix my guitar playing. Um, you can maintain your playing with an hour, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour a day. But if you want to make some leaps, you need to put 2 to 4 hours in if you really want to jump. So I was getting up at 4 in the morning, doing 2 hours before I went to work, and then doing 2 more hours when the kids went to bed for like a year to get my ducks in a row and get my playing where I wanted to get it. Um, and the same goes with writing. You're gonna put the time in if you want to do it, and recording too. Like especially if you're recording yourself, um, and if you're as big of a lunatic as I am, I don't like to edit stuff. So I will play it and play it and play it and play it and play it until it gets right. So you put the time in.
I see back there you got a Mesa.
But yeah, I got a couple things here. I got the old Line 6 Beta 2 because I'm still such a Meshuggah nut. Um, the ancient Pod, and this is a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier, revision G, and I got a couple cabs in there. I got one of my Mesa cabs and one of my Randall cabs in here. I live. I use a Kemper digital profiler, which is profiled like I like that one a lot because it's in the digital realm. It feels like a real amp, but it's reliable. It sounds the same every night. It has never broke on me. So I've had tube amps, coming from. I was super lucky, man. I grew up. My dad was a serious guitar player, so I grew up like with Marshall stacks in the house. But I had to be the rebellious son, and I ended up being a mess guy. What are you gonna do?
Now, when you record, do you use like digital amps and stuff to record your stuff, or do you go through your amps?
Generally, when I'm tracking, I'll use the Kemper just for profile it, just to get the tracks down, and then I'll reamp. Um, and then sometimes, I mean, the Kemper profiles I'm using are of real amps that either I've made or friends have made, and that they actually work for me because it's guitar tone is like 1,000 tiny pieces put stacked up together. The guitar matters, the string matters, the string gauge matters, the nut height matters. Um, the pickup matters. The way you hold your pick matters. What amp you're going into matters. What cabinet? The cabinet more so than the head, um, and then the microphone choices. So generally, I'll either reamp. So it's easy because it's really difficult to play and execute and focus on the tone at the same time. It's like, I got a 1989, limited RAM operating speed system up here, so you only have 100% focus. So I try to focus on making sure the playing is right and as tight as it can be. And, the pick is right and the attack is right. And then reamping, you just take that direct signal from the guitar and send it back through the amp. And it's much easier to be able to make informed decisions about the guitar sound when you're not trying to play it at the same time.
Have all that stuff that you have to have just right. Do you set up your own guitars, or do you have someone do it for you?
I do. That was one of the things that I was very fortunate. My dad was, educated to the point where he could set up a guitar from scratch. He could change out pickups. Like I'll burn my fingers every time I do it with a soldering iron, but I can get the job done. But your general setups and stuff I can do, which is nice because some of the things that I like is more challenging to get out of the guy in the local guitar shop. Um, I prefer my nut height a little higher than most, so I can keep the neck a little straighter. Um, and that's the thing that usually, the string has to have the room to vibrate properly. So you get used to it and you get comfortable with it. But if you were to pick up one of my guitars, they might feel to some players like it's a little bit higher on the action side. I'd rather it be harder to play and sound right, though.
You're an Ibanez guy.
I am. I am very much an Ibanez guy. A whole bunch. I think most of them are over there. And my one of my older brothers is also a guitar player, and I remember the RG 550s being around when I was a youngster. So you can't tell in this light, but this thing is like glowing neon, and it's a 7 string that I bastardized to look like the old 90s 550. And then I got dared that I wouldn't do it, and I ended up with a hot pink one too.
Nice.
And these are super fun to play live because you put these under a blue light and they look like they're glowing.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but I got it, and then this one's the all 7 string. This is the Ibanez Telly version. I like that one a lot. This one is always like the clean tones, all of the clean and like the mid, like the Stevie Ray Vaughan style guitar tones that I tend to use for interludes and everything. But this one, Ibanez came back with the extended scale 7 strings. This is the main heavy guitar for all of the new stuff. It's 27-inch scale, so you get away with lighter strings because the tension is longer. And that was really the secret to the guitar tone doing what I wanted it to on heads and hooves.
So, how many do you take with you when you go play?
I usually two or three. I've gotten that was one of the primary reasons I went back to playing seven strings. I Meshuggah and Korn was such an early influence. The first guitar that I actually bought with my own dollars was Ibanez 7620. It was the late 2002 2004 range. Whenever nothing came out from Meshuggah, um, my life was like I just need to be low tuned. That I was committed to it from that moment on. Um, and then I bounced back and forth because there was things that I didn't understand from uh, just an educated standpoint. Like all the notes are on the guitar. You just have to know where they're at. So what happened is I went nihilist, indoctrination, and indoctrination were all done on six strings that were tuned down. And I had two different tunings. It was drop A sharp and drop G sharp, which is not what a six string Gibson V wants to do. I had to beat them into submission to take those kind of tunings, and the strings were real big, and I had to drill out the um, tuning pegs and everything else. And when I started studying, I was like, oh, damn it. I could do all of our songs in these two different tunings with one seven string guitar if I just shift these notes into certain places. Um, so that was pretty liberating. So that'll allow me. Usually I'll bring three guitars just because I like them all so much that I can't. I hate leaving any of my babies at home. Um, but usually I'll only play one in a live set.
Now, all of your recording was done with just the one.
The two you had the all the heavy tones was done with the 2027, the blue one, and then all the clean stuff and the all the clean guitars, any of the weird layers. I think some of the leads were done on that the telly. I can't remember the model number on it because Ibanez model numbers are like 15 characters long. It's like a serial number more than a model number.
So who all? So do you have a bass player right now that plays with you?
We do. His name's Dan. Dan's been with us since 2019, so a long time. So he's part of the family. He's all the way in. He's even on the paperwork.
So how many shows do you think you have lined up already for this year?
So right now we've got two announced. We've got a run in the late spring, early summer with one of the label bands that's not announced yet, and then there's some more stuff pending. It's pretty early in the year, and everything gets real quiet from the week before Christmas to the week after New Year's. But we're hoping to get out and hit 26 pretty hard. I know we'll be in that spring run is at least 3 or 4 days. It'll be New Jersey, um, the middle of Pennsylvania, and probably Columbus, um, which would be fun because I've lived here for 2 years now and I've never played here before. We always end up playing in Cleveland. Um, nothing. I love Cleveland. It's a like 2 hour 20 minute drive from here, and great food, great venues, and that's most of the time. If I go see a show, I have to go up to Cleveland anyways.
Not too long ago, I went to Bogart's in Cincinnati.
I haven't been there yet either. Oddly enough, my brother Matt was there for a Mudvayne show. He was filming Matt from the drummer from Mudvayne for Sick Drummer magazine. Great dudes over there too.
That's cool. I seen Mudvayne in Indy. They opened up for Megadeth last
Nice.
year. Yeah.
I haven't seen them since they've come back. I've seen them a couple of times in the earlier years. I think the last time they were touring on like Lost and Found.
I've been trying to catch a lot of shows here in the last year and this year, so I feel like I missed out a lot and I didn't do a lot of concerts when I was younger. So now I got to try and make up for it now.
Got it, got it. Yeah, we were the opposite, having a dad who was a musician, and not only a musician but incredibly supportive of his kids too. Um, I mean, I remember going to 2 or 3 shows a week sometimes, and there was times like, and I think back about it now, like being in my mid 30s and thinking back, like it was like a Tuesday night. He took me to see Lamb of God at the House of Blues or some shit. Like I know that man had to get up and go to work in the morning. you know. But we did a lot of the Ozfests from, the early 2000s. So I've been fortunate. I've gotten to see a lot of really good shows.
Do you remember what your first concert was?
Uh, I remember being told about it. I think I was 7, and it was Styx in Kansas. And I can remember like little blips of it, like little snapshots. But I mean, the farther I get down the road, the farther I get away from it. It's hard to remember that shit.
Right, right. That's funny. I got Christmas present. I got tickets to go see Alan Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah, my grandfather on the other side of the family was a big country guy. So my dad was the rock and roll dude that's how I got Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Leonard Skinner and all of that stuff. And through the heavier stuff too. He kind of stopped at Pantera, and that's kind of where we started. We're like more, heavier, harder, scarier, more. Uh, but that country stuff too, like Johnny Cash and the if I'm going on the countryside, it's going to be more of the old outlaw stuff, because the newer stuff is kind of just pop with a banjo and a fiddle on it. Not that there's not good stuff in there, because a good song's a good song. I'm not an elitist by any stretch of the imagination with music. There's probably good songs you could find in any genre that I would get into. Um, and then there's some stellar guitar players in that world too.
yeah, so I'm more the rock guy, and my wife's more the country person. So I definitely go to more country concerts than I do rock concerts.
They're good shows though. I mean, they've got the
Yeah.
budget to put on like a proper production. Um, you don't see that a lot in the heavy music world anymore. Like it's just not there, outside of your giant entities like Slipknot and Gojira, and probably Sleep Token would be one of those that you would argue these days that have that big stage show.
I always get kind of frustrated because a lot of the huge bands really don't play anything but uh, like big festivals and stuff.
It's tough. In you got to remember that it's a small business at the end of the day, right? That they've got their, if you can go play one festival date, that's going to pay you as much as 30 days on the road with all of that cost eliminated. You can't beat that.
Have you ever done a festival?
We have not done a festival. I am hoping that 26 will be an opportunity for us to do one of these. You got to remember too, a lot of the years in the early years of Matt and I being active as musicians, there was no festival stateside outside of an Ozfest or a Lollapalooza. So we're kind of, the U.S. is catching up now with those destination festivals, the Rockville, the Incarceration, all of those. So, but trying to get on one of those, it's tough. We are submitted on several of those. We have something that may happen in the summertime with one of those larger festivals. And right now we're also in an active, like virtual battle of the bands type thing. Um, it's real active on Twitch. DWP presents Danny Wimmer. He's the guy that pretty much has the lock on the U.S. festival. They're responsible for Sonic Temple and Welcome to Rockville and all that. So they have all of these small artists going. They'll do a live stream on Sundays. I think the one that we're up on is Sunday the 18th of January. Um, so if we can get enough of our friends and fans in there to go, yeah, we want these guys to come, we might have a shot at Rockville. So that would be super neat. Yeah. We've been fortunate. Like we've gotten to play in front of some pretty serious audiences, and probably the most significant one opening for Exodus years back. I mean, that was like a 3,000 room, and it was ass jammed. And we ended up playing late because one of the touring acts had a van issue. So it was one of those, like, we went back to start warming up, and there was probably, 400 or 500 people, which would have been a stellar show for us either way, you know. And we came out, and it was just people everywhere. That was the last time that I had like the pre-show butterflies. They're like, oh shit, they're like the shakies.
So now, like, you opening for a couple coming up here, do you have any headline shows?
We don't have any right now. We've done some recently. Like, I wouldn't say that we were in the position to really do that until, relatively recently. We did one headliner last year that was successful, and it wasn't in a hometown either. It was, uh, right outside of Lansing, Michigan. It's this awesome little do-it-yourself venue. You go play on the floor and shit. It's a restaurant. They'll clear all the tables out there and put shows on. And it's got Eaton Rapids Craft Company. Best people on earth. They're so good to us. We did a headliner there, and no bullshit, I was nervous. I didn't know if people were going to come or not. And we were pleasantly surprised that it was a lovely turnout. And, there was people there that wanted to come spend their hard-earned money to watch us idiots play music.
How do you select the songs you're going to play for your shows?
A lot of that depends on how much time we have, because we've gotten this. Heads and Hooves is about 30 minutes of music. So if we're doing short openers, it's pretty easy. It's going to be the new stuff. There's a handful of the older songs that we've spent a lot of time with reworking with Justin's vocals that kind of give them a whole different life that we're talking about, even potentially re-recording. So it's a lot of it is just based on time. How much time do we have available? And we've done these residency shows at times with the other label bands where you'll play 2 nights at the same venue, and that's taxing because you have to have two distinctly separate set lists. You can have a song here, a song there that overlap, but those are tougher than a short set.
When you play live, do you try to play as close to the album as possible, or do you throw like some improvised stuff or some stuff that you thought maybe should have been on the song but you didn't put on the song?
I think they'll grow like little bits. It's very close to the album, but you might have a drum fill might change, or I can't help but put pinch harmonics where they don't belong sometimes too. But it's pretty close because a couple of reasons why. One, we put a lot of effort into especially the Heads and Hooves material, so it's pretty what we want it to be. But also we're playing to a click track, so there's not a you're not going to slow it down just because you feel like it that night. The only option for us is to, the amount of time you would have to take to get together to rehearse would make it unfeasible for us to do the other way. So yeah, it's pretty close, and I mean it'll always be a little different too because I mean the albums are tracked as if there's two guitar players. Now I try to not go bananas where there's two drastically different guitar parts going on at the same time. And there's very, very minimal like backing track stuff that we use, like maybe a guitar layer. If I have 3 guitar parts going or something like that, I'll be kind of tucked back in the mix. And then I seen Mastodon and Neurosis like real early. And at that point in time, Mastodon was like, they weren't to the Crack the Sky stuff yet, and they didn't have any silence between any of their songs. There was like samples and interludes and stuff between it through the entire set. So that's what I like to do. So there's like zero silence. We start, there's interludes between every track, and it's pretty orchestrated. And eventually we'll have lights done to it too. I just got to figure that out.
Are you the person who sets that all up and makes sure that everything? Do you have like a sound person or?
So I built the rig originally, and luckily, Justin is also very skilled in that. I mean, he's a professional audio guy by trade. That's his day job. So we've improved the live rig, but it existed before he came on, and he was able to. Yeah, I call myself a guerrilla engineer. I know enough to be dangerous, and I can get the job done, but it might be ugly. He's more of the professional, so he was able to clean up some of that stuff in the rig. And between me and him, I mean, our setup and teardown time, having two guys, because most bands have one dude that kind of knows what's going on, right? So we're pretty fortunate in the fact that we've got a couple of dudes, and everybody's kind of got their role. Dan is he'll be setting up the merch, making sure all of that, because it's usually just the four of us out on the road. So we're at the merch table until it's showtime, and then we're back there. So everything is done by us. And if you buy something off our website, it's packed out of my garage, and it's got my shitty handwriting on it on the envelope. So we're self sufficient as we can be, and it's not that we don't like other people. It's just, this thing has just gotten to the point where we can pay for it. It'll pay for itself, and we might come home with a couple bucks. It's no longer like a money pit hobby.
Do you book? I know you said you had runs with the other bands from the label, but other shows like that, do you book them?
We book some of our stuff, and we also have a booking agent with an agency called M7. So they're doing a lot of, and if you ever see our name on a festival thing, it's going to be because of them. The small stuff will hit directly, and I got lucky. Matt, our drummer, is a study of. He studies with the drummer from Rivers of the Nile, so they put us in touch with the right people to be able to get a shot at the show, and we happened to know the promoter. The promoter that booked the show is a guy that used to book in Chicago years ago. So when I reached out to him, he was like, "What? Where have you been?" And I was like, "I've been looking for you. I don't know where you've been." So it was one of those, and it was like, "Well, you guys aren't, from Indy. What, what are you going to do out here?" And I was like, "Well, in the 10 years we haven't talked, we've been running through the Midwest like wild people." So Chris was kind enough to give us the show, and super excited about that one. And then the show in Illinois the day after at the Forge, our drummer works there on his off time as a stagehand or whatever else he can do, light guy. And that's a venue we've played. We've known the folks there for years and years and years, and they're always great. So it was one of those. Hey, I think they seen that we were going out because we were going to go out and do the River show just as a one off. There was no way I wasn't doing that show. And then we got the offer to do the next day in Illinois. We're like, yeah, let's do that. It gives you a little chance to, spread the cost around and sell a couple more black T-shirts.
It's my favorite color.
That's right. We have one white T-shirt, and I've seen both reactions, like, "Oh, cool, a white shirt," and they're like, "Damn it, I wish that was on a black T-shirt."
Who does your logos and stuff like that?
So the logo that we use primarily has been around for ages, and it was done by a gentleman named Juan Franco. And he was just somebody we knew all the way back from the MySpace days, back when we were chiseling shit on stone. And then when it comes to art, it's wildly varied. There's no dedicated art guy. A lot of it is the Heads and Hooves album artwork was done by a guy named Mikro. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but he was out of Germany, and he did a lot of stuff for like a lot of doom bands, like a lot of he did a bunch of tour posters and T-shirts for like Zach Sabbath and High on Fire and shit like that. And I wanted to work with him for sure because this thing had a vibe to it. I wanted. Sometimes I'll have a vision for something, and sometimes I'll know it when I see it. I wanted the vibe for Heads and Hooves to be like that retro 70s, like horror movie poster. Uh, and he did a fantastic job on that layout. He also did two of the t-shirts. He did the Heads and Hooves, the red t-shirt, and he did the Blue Skull t-shirt. Both I love those, and the hoodie design that's got that wild LSD goat on it. I cannot remember for the life of me who did that, because I've been sitting on that design for like 8 years. Just didn't have the right. It didn't fit with the overall vibes of the last couple of releases, and I was glad we finally got to do it, and I felt like it fit pretty well. I wish I could find that. I've scoured my emails and I've scoured my social media looking for that guy, and I cannot find him.
What's your most active social media?
I would say probably Instagram. I mean, we've got good numbers on Facebook, but Facebook's engagement isn't what it was before. Um, so we're on Instagram a good bit, and TikTok's been very kind to us recently too. It kind of just snuck up out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, there's like 1,000 people over here that are." TikTok is like the one where people are engaging now, and it's sort of back to where social media kind of was before. Because I mean, I'm sure you remember the days of the early stuff. You would make a post and people would see it. Like the people that followed you would see it. Like that shit doesn't happen now. You'll post something, and maybe 10-15% of the people that are engaged in following you will see it.
Yeah, I know it's tough getting out there, and but it's so easy. It's so easy to put the stuff out, but it's so hard to be seen.
It is, and it's that catch-22, right? Like there's no longer the gatekeepers standing in everyone in the way of anyone. Because I mean, if you want even back 20 years, the early 2000s, let alone the mid 90s, there was a fraction of bands or creative people that got to cross that barrier, but it was behind one of five major labels, and it cost $250,000 at a minimum to do an album. Um, the nice part about that is it was a much less saturated public at large, and you kind of just got into whatever was available to you. Um, the upside about now is everyone gets to have their artistic voice. It just makes it more difficult to be seen. Um, but when somebody does see you nowadays, like most of the people that come see us in any given city, like I'm friendly with. Like we know each other. Like we'll say happy birthday to each other, and shit on the internet. So you end up making like actual friends. Like if somebody makes that commitment to come out and see you, like we're gonna spend the time with you. You want to talk to us? You want to know what kind of guitar I play? I'll talk your face off. You want to talk about cats? I'll bend your ear off. Like um, some people had the impression that like we were full time touring dudes, and like I wish sometimes, but then you know other times I don't. Like I wonder at what point does the art get poisoned and it become a job?
Have you ever so what would be your goal then? So with Beneath the Hollow, what would be your final goal and say this is exactly what I wanted this band to become?
Whew. That's a tough one. That's a tough one because some of it is um, we would do this whether anybody listened or not. Like we are making the music for the four of us first, something that we want to hear, something we may feel like is missing or isn't out there. Um, and now at this point, I think we want to see just how far we could take it, and if all it ever ends up being is we're this regional band that is able to go out and play for a couple hundred people in all these given cities. Um, the first time you get to go out of your hometown and you play your song and somebody in that audience sings back to you, that's like a high nothing can give you. It's like a validation, and it's a connection, and it's um, an experience that I couldn't think of anything else that would give you that. So if that's all it ever is, I would be happy with that. If it comes to us being able to go play those big festivals, and I mean, what an honor that would be. You know, we'll go as far as is the universal let us.
So, man, I like that. I ask everybody that question, and I like to
And
hear their answers. It's,
and it's a tough one, and it probably vary wildly. Some people probably have it very thought out. Where where's the plateau? Where's the I've made it at? And in many respects, like I've gotten a lot of those things, and very fortunately, right? Like I got to be involved in a band that um, was signed to a label that I respect, and we had other offers from some of your household names, and none of them made sense for us. None of, like we they weren't enough to, like, they were under minimum wage kind of stuff. Like I love playing the guitar. I don't want to go play the guitar for a year and then never want to touch it again because I'm now in debt from my job. You know what I mean? So I get to play with a bunch of excellent dudes. One of which is my blood family, and the other two are as close as you get without sharing DNA. Um, I get to do that. I've gotten to make records with producers that I look up to and admire. Machine being one of them. John Douglas was the gentleman that we worked with on Heads and Hooves out of Atlanta, and he is just a killer. Um, I'd love to work with him again. Um, excuse me. We've got to play shows in all these places that, you know, I never knew if I was going to get to play or not. And we've been fortunate enough to play for audiences, and, you know, yeah, we've been as far as like playing Virginia Beach, and people were singing our songs back to us. And that's a privilege.
all right, man. So your probably your website or Instagram would probably be like the best place to find out where you guys are playing.
Yeah, definitely. So beneaththehollow.com will have access to everything. If you go to our Instagram at Beneath the Hollow, I think the link tree is the link in there. And that's got links to socials, to streaming. And if you go to the website, there is a email list sign up. And we do not spam. I mean, you'll probably get 5 emails a year from me. And they are, hey, we got a song coming out. There's a new piece of merch, or we're playing over here.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, man, I appreciate you coming on, and we linked up and found a time we were both available.
It was tough to get through the holidays, man. We were trying to get this lined up for a while, so I
Yeah,
appreciate your patience with me, and it was a great time, man. Dan, I appreciate you.
yeah, appreciate it, man. And yeah, have fun in Indy. And man, I really hope I might try and see if I can come out and see you guys on,
Come
because
out,
I
man.
yeah, I only live like probably an hour away. So
Dude, come out. And Rivers, I don't know if you're familiar with Rivers and Isle Music, but they're phenomenal. Go give them a listen, and even if you don't come for us, you're going to want to see them.
all right, man. Well, have a good evening.
You too, my friend.